This is 11th Lit, and we're reviewing vocabulary from Walden. Obtrude, you want to help us out? The three of us will go through this.
Oh, okay, I have to thrust out.
What's
I
that?
have to thrust out.
Yeah, or to become noticeable in an unwelcome way. Like if you stick your foot out, you thrust it out in the aisle, somebody could trip over it. That when you obtrude, you're making yourself noticeable, usually in a negative way. Like, do you have a sentence?
Yeah, I said, please stop intruding in my affairs.
Yes, very good. Impertinent, Delaney.
I said, not showing proper respect.
Yes.
And then I said, an affirmative question was asked by the boy.
Very good. It means rude. I think that's what it's. Sonorous, I'll do that one. Capable of producing a deep or ringing sound. Let's see what else I have. Impressive. So it is a sound, and it's usually a deep ringing sound. This is from Walden. I seldom open my door in winter evening without hearing it. The owl sounded sonorously, and the first three syllables accented what I liked to hear. Anyway, that's sonorous. It's a deep, ringing sound.
I have the wrong list.
Okay, that's not good. Here, I got another list for you. What words are on there?
It says vocabulary too.
Here, the one. That's the second one. So you can get some credit since you didn't have the right list. Even if you'd done it. All right, so let's go to belies, Delaney.
I said to fail to give a true notion or impression.
To contradict or show to be false. All these are the same, basic, different ways to say the same thing. You have a sentence?
His lively, alert manner belied his years.
Good. Her healthy appearance belied the story that she said she'd been sick all weekend, something like that. It proved false. Magnanimity. Generous, let me see, I've got a couple of different. Courage or generosity. So showing it is the fact or condition of being generous or courageous. Magnanimity. Well, let's do 6. So since I just gave it to you, and then I'll do 5 also. So magnanimity, number 6. It's the fact or condition of being generous or courageous. Number 6 is ennui. I've never heard anybody actually say that word, but it's boredom and weariness. So ennui, French word meaning boredom or weariness. So going back to magnanimous, the man was magnanimous when he forgave his tormentor. But ennui, the hot summer afternoon created a feeling of ennui among the passengers. Boredom, weariness. Okay, superfluities. Superfluities here.
I have something unnecessary, excess, and then my sentence was the boy felt the dog's toys were superfluitous.
Okay, so you said unnecessary, something unnecessary or excessive, in that, right? Very good. Esculents. Delaney.
I said it is a thing that is to be eaten.
Yes. Especially a vegetable. I think that's often what it referred to. So you could write it anytime you'd say a food, something, a meal, whatever, a vegetable, eating that would be an esculent. Inconsolable, Inconsolable means not able to be comforted or alleviated. Not able to be comforted is inconsolable. He was inconsolable when he heard the news of the death. Couldn't be comforted. Consanguinity, Sarah.
The quality or state of being. The people related by consanguinity.
It's close relationship. Related by blood is consanguinity. So if that's a relative, right? You might be close to your neighbors or your friends, but that's not consanguinity. It's stronger than that. It's a blood relationship. Having the same ancestor. Do you have a sentence? That's a tough one.
Well, I guess my sentence kind of makes sense then. Are the people related by consanguinity?
Yeah, the United. The word is in the Declaration of Independence. Jefferson uses it, and he talks about our consanguinity with the British people, because we literally were relatives of people in Britain. That's where many of the colonial fathers, founding fathers, were born, and so they have relatives in England. How about pecuniary? Delaney.
Consisting of or measured in money.
Yes, has to do with money. Do you have a sentence?
I didn't for this one. I don't know how to use it.
If you estimating the pecuniary value of every man's labor at $1 a day. He estimated the pecuniary value of every man's labor at $1 a day. That was from Walden. Nobody makes $1 a day now. Let's see. Repudiation is the act of casting off or rejecting. So repudiation is the act of rejecting, or it is rejection. The repudiation, the divorce was finalized after the repudiation of his wife.
Wait, what does it mean?
It means rejection. If you repudiate something, you reject it. So repudiation is a rejection of a proposal or idea. I use it as a person, but it's his idea that he gave to the company was repudiated, or he received repudiation for his suggestion. I don't think it has a T. It has a T, but I'm not sure how you pronounce it. It's French. Sierra.
I didn't find a lot for this one, but I found dazzling effect.
Well, that's plenty. Brilliant display or effect.
I said the girl had a eclat effect on the person.
Or you could just say, since it's a noun, yes. I was looking for my phone because I've noticed it. I was going to look up the word. I'd like to know how to pronounce it. I'll do that later. Consummate. Consummate or consummate. I think it can be pronounced either way, Delaney.
Said extremely skilled or accomplished.
Yeah, or complete or perfect. Like that word complete right here means perfect on the board. So, consummate, well, how did you use it?
I said the boy is a consonant. That's how you
It's
say
an
it?
adjective.
I said the boy was very consonant in his grades.
Yeah, I guess. He showed consummate skill in achieving those grades. So his skill was complete. And so it comes before a noun. So his consummate skill was rewarded by excellent grades. Retinue. Retinue is a body of attendants, a entourage. You ever heard that word, entourage? So if you travel around with a group of people, like they accompany you everywhere you go, you would have a retinue or entourage. The rock star was accompanied by his retinue in the restaurant. Emasculated. particularly from a male point of view. You would say that about a man. You wouldn't really say that about a woman because it relates, but it's depriving a man of his authority or strength. Did you have a sentence?
Yeah, I said he was a boy whose father was emasculated. Yeah. I don't know.
Yeah, you would want.
The website.
Yeah, you'd want to say something like, because he grew up in a house full of women, he often felt emasculated, robbed of his manhood, so to speak, or strength. How about sojourner?
I said temporary stay.
Yeah. You don't reside there, you sojourn there. You're not there for a long time. You have a sentence?
A traveler sojourned in a hotel.
Very good. And of course, you use it as a verb, which is great, but he was a sojourner for 3 weeks in a hotel while his car was being fixed. So he didn't reside there. He didn't live there permanently. Factitious means artificial. Created artificially. That's a tough one. I guess in a way, dressing up for Halloween is factitious. It's an artificial. It's artificial. You're not really a pirate. You just dress like a pirate. So it's factitious. It's not fictitious. It's also fictitious, which means not true, but it's also artificial. It's not genuine. I don't know that I'd ask you to write a sentence with that because it's dilettantism. Definitely not going to ask you to write a sentence with this one, but you know what it means, Sierra?
A person having a superficial interest in art or a branch of knowledge.
It actually probably would have been better as a dilettante, which is also a noun. A dilettante is a dabbler, an amateur in something. When it came to art, he was a dilettante. So he wasn't a pro, he was just an amateur. So dilettantism is being amateurish about something. Doesn't mean it's bad, I don't think. You're not an expert. You just know a little bit about it. And finally, picturesque is, what does that mean?
You said resembling a picture.
Yeah, which, however, it's not, it could be a picture of something ugly. In this case, it's charming and quaint, very visually attractive. So when you say picture, you mean a pretty picture. Like, you ever heard that? You're as pretty as a picture. You know, that's the idea. You're pretty, you're attractive visually, or it could be like an old barn out in the country is picturesque. It's quaint, or charming. It's not fancy, but it's still pretty in its own way. All right. We will have a quiz on this next week. I need to select a date, hopefully next Wednesday or something. You'll have a couple of quizzes on there. So would you get out the book? We're going to read a little bit after we finish with the... did we have a conversation here about Anne with an E? Didn't we talk about that? Okay, well, that's right, we worked out. My wife and I are watching it, and several episodes, the friend of Anne, her name is Diana, she's reading Frankenstein. And she tries to share it, she and her boyfriend, who works as a hand, you know, and a laborer on the farm, he read it too, but he didn't get it, you know, like he's not as smart as she is. But they were talking about Frankenstein. I thought that was interesting. I bought a copy of it recently because we read anyway, I might try to read it. All right, so we finished on page 11 in your book, which doesn't look like my book. So I doubt if it's the same page. Okay, the first chapter, Do you have a page 11 there that starts with the mass of men? When we consider, I mean.
It's on page 7.
It's on page 7. Thank you. Please try to mark it because we are in 2 different books. I am going to read a little bit. You have questions? Everybody have questions? This is Walden. Do you have a book? Doesn't sound like you have a book there.
I mean, I don't see one. Can I check my locker?
Yeah, because I don't, oh, here's a copy. Do you
Can
have
I
it?
check my locker?
Sure. I'm going to put it right here. You don't need it. All right, so why don't I ask Delaney to start? You should have questions. Does she have questions?
How was the quiz meeting? We should watch it. I think we should watch it. And we should watch the first 2 times.
So what is your next movie?
It's not the French Fantastic Mr. Fox, but our next movie is Pride and Prejudice, because I have a feeling we should watch it.
It was in my locker.
Okay, I like Emma. You ever seen
Watching
Emma?
Christmas. Yeah.
You ever read Emma? Emma seen it? Jane Austen? I like that one. All right, so we are on page 11, and Delaney's going to read for us. Do you have questions?
Questions?
Yes.
No.
What? Said he probably wants to ask how it would be for the window. No, we're not speaking of those. We're watching Pride and Prejudice.
Ew.
Ew. The movie was good. 2005 version's good.
Mm.
Yeah. The other one's not.
No, it's not. No, it's
All right, Delaney's going to read for us. We are actually down to question number 6. We've answered both of those. I do want to give you credit for this.
Where's the answer to the massive men?
Yeah, well, let's answer it. He basically says that what is called resignation is confirmed desperation. We said desperate is doing anything because you have no other choices. So when you're desperate, or desperation is doing something when there are no other options. You just do the next thing. You do the thing you think you have to do. He basically says wisdom is never desperate. So when he says men live lives of quiet desperation, you could say hopelessness, because usually that's what desperate. You're desperate, meaning you're hopeless. You don't even think what you're going to do is going to work. I don't know if that describes you. I hope not. All right, so we're going to start underneath that when we consider, and it's probably looks like a long paragraph, but if you can read all of it, it'd be great.
When we consider what to the use of the words of the
Catechism.
catechism and the chief end of man, and what are the true necessaries and the means of life, it appears as if men have deliberately chosen the common mode of living because they preferred it to any other. Yet they honestly think there is no choice left. But alert and healthy natures remember that the sun rose clear. It was never too late to give up our prejudices. No way of thinking or doing. However, ancient can be trusted with doubt.
I want you to underline that. I think that's interesting. No way of thinking or doing, however ancient, can be trusted without proof. I think that's important.
What everybody echoes or in silence passes by as true today may turn out to be the falsehood tomorrow. Mere smoke of an opinion which some men trusted for a cloud that would sprinkle fertilizing rain on their fields. What old people say you cannot do, you try and find that you can. Old deeds for old people and new deeds for new. Old people did not know enough once per chance to fetch fresh fuel to keep the fire going. New people put a little dry wood under a pot in our world around the globe with the speed of birds in a way to kill old people, as the phrase is. Age is no better purpose. Here is life in an experiment to a great extent untried by me, but it does not avail me that they have tried it. If I have any experience which I think valuable, I am sure to reflect that this is my interest and nothing about.
I would suggest that you write what I'm about to say in the margin somewhere at the top of the page. He's talking about really nothing old, he says, can teach him anything. He distrusts old things, old people, old advice, old books. Then he later contradicts that, but I mean he says that old isn't, just because it's old doesn't make it right or good. And Isabella, you'd read the next one. What he's trying to do here is figure out what is the most necessary, what are the necessary things to live. He's getting to that. And you start at, one farmer said to me,